would like to thank you for joining us in this new webinar for economic statistics information, in particular for the price indices. And first, I would like to welcome and thank you for being here at this virtual meeting during these difficult times. So this meeting is part of the initiative of UNECLAC, StatCan, and the Caribbean Community Secretariat in order to support the countries in their statistical operation under the challenges that the COVID-19 emergency represents. Our idea is for this meeting is to provide information about the compilation of prices under the COVID-19 pandemic and to offer you the opportunity to share current experience in collecting data, compiling the consumer price indices, and to find possible ways to face these challenges. This meeting is carried out to all the countries of the Caribbean region within the Knowledge Transfer Network, RTC, of the Statistical Conference of the Americas Framework. And the idea is to enrich the document elaborated by us at ECLAC with recommendations and possible ways to face this difficult challenge where your experience are reflected. And the first version is of this document is available in Spanish and English in the website of this knowledge transfers network and the Conference of the America in the website. And in our platform the platform that we create for the COVID-19, and where you can follow all the information that we in ECLAC are producing in regard and the information that the countries, the measures that countries have faced and regarding this pandemic. So. With this, I would like to give the floor to Marta Tobar, which is going to be the one that is going to conduct this conference. And again, I want to thank you for your participation in StatCan and CARICOM for their support. I don't know if somebody from StatCan wants to say something.
Hello, it's Claudio. I'm just thanking you for the invitation, and I'm here with my colleague, Catherine Michaud. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia, and thank you, Claudio, sorry. And for somebody from CARICOM that wants to say something?
Hello? Hello? Hi, this is Marissa Ramatar from the CARICOM Secretariat. Are you hearing me?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, yes, unfortunately I joined late, but on behalf of my project director, Dr. Philemon Harrison, I'd like to thank you very much for inviting us to the meeting. And I hope, as usual, we very much support this effort in terms of the price collection in for the ICP. Thanks.
Thank you very much. And so you are welcome. And Marta, you have the voice. And thank you very much for all your support. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello, good morning to everybody. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes,
okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning. I hope you are doing well, all of you. Thank you very much for being here. This is the second meeting we are conducting for the Caribbean region. First of all, I will use a presentation as a base for this meeting. I will put it now. So, as introduction, I would like to explain you that we have a first meeting with a group of countries, with 5 countries the last week with Jamaica, Bahamas, Curacao, Belize, Antigua, and Barbuda. As results of this meeting, we have a conclusion about the price statistics, and what we find in this meeting is that most of the countries did not face problems to collect the data until March. The complication of the consumer price index, might face problems as of April, and until the lockdown is raised by country. The imputation methods are being considered, and the repetition of the last price quotation observed might be the option to apply. As far as we understand in the discussion of these meetings, we have these conclusions from your side. So during this meeting, we are going to follow the sequence of, we are going to propose some recommendation based on the baseline that we find in the first meeting. We would like to discuss with you some of the conclusions and some of the recommendations we are proposing. These recommendations are based in some of the discussion we had with the Latin American region previously. So we are jointly, all the information we are collecting from you, and we are incorporating it in a document for your own use to face this challenge in the context of the pandemic due to the virus COVID-19. So I'm going to first with the presentation. So this is the second virtual meeting organized with you. The impact of the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic in the price statistics. The sanitary measures taken by the government in each country have impacted importantly the regular data collection and the compilation of the CPI. Currently, the National Statistical Office around the world are facing the challenge to deal with the data gaps, the imputation techniques, and the mechanisms to explain to the users the impact of the health emergency in the production of the CPI. In this regard, ECLAC has organized a series of video conferences and regular consultations to assess the impact of the virus COVID-19 pandemic on the statistical operation in the Latin American and Caribbean region. The objective for this meeting is to identify the status of the compilation of the Consumer Price Index in the region, the main problems and the challenges faced, and to exchange experiences and share some of the recommendations raised during formal meetings with the Latin American region. For your knowledge, we will have an outcome that is in progress now, that is a summary of the problems faced and solution proposals to be included in the document producing the CPI and the COVID-19 pandemic in the Latin American and Caribbean. This document has been placed at the website of the Knowledge Transmission Network of the Statistical Conference of the Americans in the following link. You can check it and you can consult it, can be very useful for you. And this is a document in progress, and we will incorporate the conclusion from this meeting into this document. So the structure of the meeting will be first, we will some of the CPI price survey and data processing. The second part is challenges observed in the implementation of alternative collection modalities, imputation methods according to the international CPI methodological criteria and calculation process, and we will see some recommendation in the last part. So, the first is the CPI price survey and data processing in April-May 2020. Main aspects of the CPI price data collection as of April 2020 is as follows in the following chart. We have three columns. The first one is the percentage of the price collected. The observation for the Latin American region is that between 60 and 80% of the observations could be collected. regarding the effects of the health emergency, the restriction of the movements of the price collectors was one of the issues that the statistical office faces. Another one was the establishment closed. And the last one is products temporarily unavailable. At the moment that we collect this information from the Latin American region and the Caribbean, we could reach these conclusions. And the last one, the categories affected due to the health emergency. All those sectors where prices are collected face-to-face were affected. In this regard, since the data collection for the CPI is usually made face-to-face, so, and the lockdown was imposed in almost all the countries, the statistical office, the CPI teams are facing these problems since they cannot go outside to collect information. Another one was regarding the recreation services, cinema, theaters, sporting events, among others. All these activities that were stopped due to the lockdown were affected, and then the data collection of the prices is affected too. And food away from home services, hotel services also were affected. So, we are very worried about the representativeness of the CPI, and we would like to reinforce the measures that it is of high importance to ensure that the CPI calculations are of sufficient quality for it to be considered an adequate statistical instrument for monitoring inflation and household consumer prices. Given that a certain percentage of prices are usually missing, we mean that we know very well that the statistical office usually are losing information, are missing information when they are compiling the current CPI, the normal CPI. And under these circumstances, we realize very well that the statistical offices are facing more problems and more complex problems. So due to the non-observation or missing prices. And in this regard, we suggest that in the current situation, at least 50% of the information should be observed in the month in order to calculate and publish the CPI. This is an average that we could find after review the Latin American region and after understanding the practices they have faced and the solution they have implemented. So this is the first part of the meeting. If you want to share your experiences, if you want to share some of your problem faces during the data collection, we can discuss in this moment. So if we want to take the voice. Any country that want to participate?
Good morning, everyone. In addition to the food services as well as hotel prices, I think we should also note that in most instances, we'll not be able to collect airfares.
Yes. Sorry, Angeline, where are you from? What is your country?
Sorry, I am currently in the Cayman Islands.
Okay. So even usually you took these prices by website, or how are you facing this problem? How do you find this problem? You miss the information?
Our airports have been closed since March, and as a result of that, there are no flights coming in and going out of the Cayman Islands, except for repatriation flights, which are heavily subsidized by the government, as well as are being offered at some prices which are not necessarily normal.
Okay. And really, another product that you identify that you are facing problems? Another case that you want to share with the group? Ashanti?
Hi, good morning.
Hi.
Hello?
Hello, yes, we can hear you. Do you want to share something? Do you want
No,
to say something, Karen?
I just
Okay.
joined the meeting, so I'm just trying to follow.
Okay, I will come back to Andrelin. I will ask you, how do you solve this problem? Do you have the information? You are trying to get it by some way?
Yes, so most of our supermarkets are still open because of it's an essential service. But what we try to do is email the price collection forms to the supermarkets and some stores that we can get. We try to collect prices also over the phone, which is convenient because at this time a lot of persons are busy, and we don't want to ask them to stop. And so at a convenient time, we would ask them to fill up the forms that we sent and just email it. We try to minimize um, physical interaction as much as possible.
Okay. Thank you, Ashanti. Andrelin, are you there? From Cayman Islands?
Ma'am, I am here.
Yes. I want to come back with you in order to know what are you doing to face the problem to collect the data about tickets, like tickets.
Okay.
Hi, morning.
Yes.
Sorry, this is Karen from Grenada.
Okay.
I just want to say, thanks for the invitation. We were able to collect prices right through to March. We have been able to collect some prices for April. Some of the supermarkets we were able to get to and actually collect the prices. We have some items, for example, like Angeline was saying, with in the case of tickets, travel tickets. What we have some data that we collect on a quarterly basis. And we would do that so we would have collected some prices in March for these quarterly items. The next due period would be June. We don't know what would happen then, but the way things are looking now, it doesn't seem like we're going to get away from this lockdown anytime soon. But what we have been able to do for the food items, especially in the supermarkets, is either we go into the supermarkets and collect the prices, which we had no challenge in doing, but we just wasn't able to get to all the supermarkets. But we were able to do maybe more than half of the amount of supermarkets that we have. And there are two establishments that has online shopping, so we would go online and check the prices there as well, collect some prices. And we have been trying to make contact with other persons via email and telephone, see how much as well we could get, rather than not having to repeat too much of the prices. But it's not selling. We've had little challenges here and there, but we're trying to cope with the situation.
Karen, usually you collect the price quotations in US dollars or in your own currency?
We collect it in our currency, which is the EC dollar.
EC dollar. Okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you have the same problem as Andrelin mentioned. What about the flight tickets? How do you solve it? Do you have any option?
Well, I am thinking there is no flights happening right now. The airport has been shut down since I think from the 23rd of March, somewhere thereabout. So there is no commercial flights really taking place. We usually get the flights from the prices from travel agents, and these places are closed right now, shut down, nothing is happening. So I'm not sure how we would deal with that. Maybe we would try the website, but the fact that there is no flights taking place, I doubt that they would have any tickets on sale. But we would check the website and see.
Okay. And you say that your airport is close to?
Yes, our airports are on lockdown right now, so
Okay.
they're coming in, not going out.
The
Like that may
airlines are
come in.
operating?
Pardon me?
The airlines are operating?
Airlines are operating, except if they're coming in to bringing medical supplies. That's the only thing, but no, our persons are returning nationals, for example, from the US, because we have a university here that has a lot of international students, and a lot of them would have gone back, but the few that remain, they would have flights coming in. So the flights comes in empty just to take them to return to the US. But other than that, isn't any commercial flights taking place right now.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, Karen. Another comment that anybody want to share with the group from another country?
Hi, yeah. My name is Marcelo Mantos. We are from Índice, Chile. And I just would like to add something and ask other question to the same discussion, because Eurostat has published many documents along with methodological and practical recommendations. And among those, for flights and touristic packages, for example, they say, well, if you have the slightly doubt about if the service is going to be provided, because generally we used to collect this data with, in our case, for example, in the case of France and other countries, 2 months in advance, which means that nowadays, for example, we are in April. I mean, the CPI we are going to publish tomorrow, actually, it's about April. And in our case, we also have a restriction for flying, and ergo, it's going to be applied the restriction for touristic packages. So along with these recommendations and with yours that it's in the same line, they say that if you cannot, even if you can collect the data, because you might go to the web and search some flight, and you're gonna be able to maybe buy it, but in 2 months or in 3 months, you're not sure if you're gonna be able to fly. Here in Chile, even if the airport is operating under relatively normal conditions, the flights are nowadays are made just for transporting different kind of charts, and also to something we call in South America like vuelos humanitarios, humanitarian flights, just to bring back people to different countries. So in this case, Eurostat says, well, you can use the same variation of the same amount in the previous year, and another options. And this is one of the options we are going to take here in Chile, at least, according to these recommendations. First.
Okay, so what is the practice that you are going to follow, Marcelo?
We are going to try, in this case, we are going to use the Eurostat recommendation, which means we are going to take, but with a slightly difference in line with our methodology. What is recommended in this case is you're going to take the same variation of the same month 1 year ago. And in our case, we are going to take the same month, but 3 years ago, in order to raise the likelihood of keeping the seasonal pattern in this month.
Okay, we are going to deal with the imputation techniques after. If we want to give the voice to the Caribbean countries. Thank you very much, Marcelo. It's very important what you are telling, because actually the United Nations, the OECD and IMF are producing technical notes specifically to deal with these topics, not only with the travel ticket, but also with the treatment of the transfers from the government, a lot of topics that we are sharing this link with all the region in order that they have all the information to deal with this very difficult problem. Thank you, Marcelo.
Just one quick question there. The IMF and the other recommendation are aligned with this Eurostat recommendation?
Of course, it's a joint group that is producing these documents. It is not only Eurostat from UN, it's a joint group. Actually, OECD, in the same website of OECD, is the same information from Eurostat that you are referring. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. It's just, obviously, we're trying to cover any kind of doubt that our publication might generate on people. So in this case, kind of easy to, how can I say this, to defend these recommendations, since it's something general around the world. So thank you very much.
No, thank you to you. Actually, it's a work in progress because all the countries are facing problems. So we need to be flexible to understand the situation and to try to help. Thank you, Marcelo. So if from another country, from the Caribbean, want to share something with the group?
Hello.
Island, Granada, yes.
Hello, can you hear me? Jerry and Oscar of Antigua.
Yes.
We also would have received that document from Eurostat, as Marcelo was indicating. We are currently reviewing those documentation as it relates to our imputation methods that we were planning on using. We are also affected by airlines. Our airports is closed, so we don't have any commercial flights. We would have been able to collect at least 75% of our data sets. The remaining ones we're looking at again, we're looking at the possibility of using the different levels of imputation methods that we seemingly fit for that particular area.
Okay. Okay, Jerry. Thank you. Another one? Okay, if no, we can continue with the presentation.
Oh, sorry, Anguilla here.
Yes,
Sorry.
yes. Yes,
well,
of
for
course.
Anguilla, good morning. Sorry. Well, good day. For Anguilla, the only problem that we would have in collecting prices is gonna be actually airline prices, but in terms of no, sorry, just the airline prices. Everything we should be able to collect.
Sorry, you are collecting online, by website, by internet?
No, we Angola doesn't have any COVID cases at this moment. We are open. Our shops are still up.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, all right. So we don't have any curfews or anything at the moment, anything like that. So we actually are able to go to our stores and so on, but our borders are not open in terms of airlines and so on like that. We are able to go out there and actually collect the prices from the store, from the establishments.
So it's the same situation as Granada. Your borders are closed, you don't have commercial flights.
That's correct.
Okay. And are you making any effort to to collect that information? What are you finding?
Information on what, the airlines?
Yes.
We actually haven't gone into trying to gather that information at the moment. We're trying to get in the process of trying to get the other information, but we haven't actually gone into looking at that.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Another comment from anybody?
Good afternoon, everyone. Siobhan from Montserrat. We have not been able to collect prices for the months of March and April, and we will not be able to do so in the month of May as well. That'll be 3 months. We just ended our total lockdown, and we're now under 24 hours curfew with only essential services operating. We're really trying to think of ways that we can actually collect some prices, but most of our establishments in Montserrat, they actually do not have websites or whatever have you. In the grand scheme of things, we have reached out to the major ones via telephone. That has not worked yet. So we're actually open to suggestions from other islands.
Okay, thank you, Siobhan. Does anybody else want to share something?
Yes, Candice here from St. Kitts. Hello.
Yes, Brucia?
Candice, actually. As with the other Caribbean islands, our borders are also closed. We have reduced days where we can go out. We have lockdown days, 24-hour lockdown. So the times that we do get out is for just shopping or getting essential stuff. So it was a bit hard for us to collect data. We collected data up until, well, we collected data during last month because supermarkets allowed us to come in and collect the prices. But I don't know how we will go forward. Just to say that.
Okay, thank you, Brucia. Anybody else? During the previous meeting, we identified that you are facing problems to collect information from food products, since the supermarket are closed or are only opening in certain hours. So the activity is very, very down. Not only food products, but also some services that are not being demanded because, as we mentioned, the recreative services are not prohibited in some countries, on most of the countries. And we identified today the travel tickets that we didn't mention the last meeting. So we will incorporate it into our notes. So if you want to share another product that you are facing problems to collect, or another service that you are seeing that is being complicated to collect the information, otherwise we can move to the other topic from the meeting. Okay. So I will continue with the presentation. The second topics are the challenges observed in the implementation of alternative collection modalities. So the restrictions implemented by the government impose challenges, especially for those statistical operations that involve ongoing face-to-face research. New price collection modalities have to be implemented. Information and communication technologies. The statistical institution decided to carry out their collection operation by telephone or email, via internet. Some data sources have website or social media accounts. which facilitates direct research, e-commerce, websites, as well as updated catalogs, printed or digital, and price and product information provided by institution official as a result of personal purchase. In this regard, we need to mention that since the modality that you used to follow is face-to-face data collection, to move to another modality would imply some changes in your way of organization, actually even in the resources you have available, since some of you or most of you are working from home. So in the last meeting, we observed that some process in the data collection and even in the compilation are stopped because you cannot work directly in your computers in the office. And you are waiting to come back to the office to restart the process. So when we have the option, when you have the option to change the modality from face-to-face to another one, these can be the options, these ones that I mentioned before. And in each option, you need to take care that some of them are more adapted to some products to another. For instance, if you have in your country supermarkets that can provide the prices by list or by website or by email, then in this case, you can do it. In the case when you go to the market directly, face-to-face, it can be difficult to collect these prices. So depending on the product you are collecting, you can choose another modality, new modality, and we need to understand that these new modalities are only applied in the case of the health emergency. This is a gap, a period that we are covering with new modalities. So the impact of these new modalities in the coverage of the price service is for between 10% and 30% of the prices to be collected in March. So we can improve the countries that move the face-to-face collection to these new modalities could improve the survey around 10 and 30% during March specifically. These new modalities are in specific to cover the data gaps in the collection because of the health emergency. As a result of these alternatives, the statistical institutes collect sufficient data to calculate the CPI for March. Observation that covered over 50% of the total data collected. Finally, the information that was not collected should have been imputed according to the methods defined in the respective calculation algorithms of each institution as set out in their own methodologies. So what I mean is that when the statistical offices started to face problems to collect the information, they moved to another new modalities, the ones that I mentioned. And after these new modalities applied, they could improve up to 30% the data collection, based on the usually response rate that the offices usually face. So in this part, we would like to hear you about if you have tried to change the modality to collect information and what are your experience on this. If you are doing it, what is the result and what is your experience in this regard?
Angeline Royal here from the Cayman Islands. In terms of I should clarify that for the Cayman Islands, we calculate the CPI on a quarterly basis. For the first quarter, which would be January to March, we were fine. We had all our prices and everything is okay for that quarter. The quarter we're experiencing the problem with is our is the second quarter, particularly as it relates to our price correction, which is scheduled to start on Monday. Now, one of the things we have identified that we will do is, as you stated, we will use different modalities to collect prices where possible. I note your recommendation about ensuring that you have 50% observed prices. I'll be paying strict attention to that. The team will pay strict attention to that to ensure that we have about 50% coverage.
So only for the next quarter, you are going to face problems and you are looking for the alternatives to collect the information.
Yes, ma'am. Where we are not able to visit locations because, well, the supermarkets are open like most countries. We have no problems getting in and out of supermarkets to collect prices, but our concerns and those that we usually collect prices from over the phone, we have no problem as well. But our concern is for those prices, for example, clothing, that you usually go into the store and observe the quality of the clothing, etc. Those things we know we will definitely be having some challenges with, but we're going to try our best to ensure we use different modalities to collect those prices.
Okay. But you have verified which one could be? Telephone and internet?
Yes, we're currently in the process of going through our
Emails.
We're currently in the process of going through our list of outlets to identify which ones we will need to call versus which ones we will be able to visit.
With the same sample of outlets you used to work with?
Correct, with our 196 outlets that we usually collect from.
Sorry, how many outlets do you have in the survey?
196.
Okay. Okay. But you have a business register for these outlets, so you can touch base with them to get an email or telephone, something like that. Yes?
Yes, our experience with the use of email in particular is that they usually take a while to respond to us, but we're definitely going to make an effort to see how quickly they will respond this time, and to just constantly monitor to ensure that we get the prices as quickly as possible.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Andrelin. Another country that want to share their experience in the data collection with another new modality, not face-to-face? Grenada, Cayman Islands, another country? Okay, if no, let's move to the next topic. Yes.
Ashanti Trotman from Guyana.
Ashanti, yes.
Yes, so we have used one of your methods where we, as I said earlier, we sent the forms to the supermarkets via email. But our response rate is low because sometimes not all the staff would go to work, and then the forms are left, so we have to keep calling and checking, and our CPI is done on a month by month basis. We haven't got any prices from the market which account for a higher weight in for collection. So basically we're just depending on the supermarket. We haven't got any prices for stuff like clothing, household appliances, because most of those stores are not open. So we're dependent thing, what we have is the gas station prices. We would call, but of course challenges are there because not every time a staff is available to give the price over the phone. So that was about, definitely we would have emailed some forms, we would have gotten back some data. For March, we had like about 40% of the price. April, definitely, we didn't get anything so far. And May, we're now trying to re-engage with some of the supermarkets to get some stuff.
Okay. So the option is by email or by telephone?
By email or telephone, that's it. No face-to-face interaction.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Ashanti. Another experience from other participants? Okay. Let's continue with the next topic. So we will talk about the imputation methods according to the international CPI methodological criteria and calculation process. So usually the statistical offices have their own techniques to impute the data gaps for the CPI that is regularly applied because we understand that even when you have samples of outlets or products, you usually are missing information, and you know very well the response rate that is regular and common in your own process. So the imputation procedures seek to assign a price variation to a missing price observation. The imputation rules are applied in ascending order from the elementary aggregate variety outlet to the higher levels of aggregation product. The traditional imputation mechanisms are the following. I will mention the first most known three, but in the document I provided you before, you can check all the lists that we have available. Price observation missing for a specific variety from a specific outlet. We use the geometric mean for the same price, for the same specific variety from other outlets is imputed. So we use to make the imputation the geometric mean for the same specific variety from other outlet, if I'm missing an outlet, okay? The second one is price observation missing for a specific variety from all reporting outlets. The geometric mean for all varieties of the same product for which price information is available is imputed for the variety of and for all outlets. So in this case, I am missing all the reporting outlets. So I will make an imputation in this case, the geometric mean for all the outlets, okay? And the last one is the price observation missing for all varieties of the product from all outlets. In this case, the geometric mean for all products of the next aggregation level up is imputed. I will move up from the next level of aggregation. So you usually know which is the imputation technique you are following. You can verify this option that are in line with the latest international recommendation. That is very important. The imputation technique that you usually follow up are in line or have to be in line, should be in line with the international guidelines. So we are understanding that you are following imputation technique that is preserving the quality and the consistency of the CPI. So these options are in line with these guidelines. So regarding the imputation methods, do you want to share with the group what are the options you are to use? In the last meeting, we collect the information that to repeat the same price, the same previous price, might be the option to take. So maybe another country have another option in mind that want to share with the group. Angeline, maybe Ashanti, Jerry, do you want to share something? What is the option to follow with the imputation technique during this data gap period?
As indicated, we'll be using the Eurostats methods. We're in the process of reviewing all the data sets that we have in our software. Based on that, we would then determine what methods we will use.
Okay.
Like for the supermarket food items where they are missing, then we will use the outlets, the same items within the outlets. For clothing or footwear, where necessary, we would then have to look at the product level. If that may not, then we have to look at the higher level, which would be the class level. But what we're particularly concerned about there, using certain methods, then you're introducing some level of bias into the systems, because whereas you're asking to use the geometric mean, and whereas some prices would have risen beyond what is the norm, that is where the bias will then be introduced. But those are the things that we understand, and we just have to explain to the users what we would have done.
Okay, and you will verify then case by case, by product, to identify the imputation method, Jerry?
Yes, we will do that.
Okay. Thank you, Jerry. Yeah. Another comment? Okay. So I will move to the next topic about the recommendation. So, under the current scenario of a health emergency, the main objectives are to maintain adequate coverage and ensure the quality of the information collected, as well as the quality of the CPI. The statistical institution compiling the CPI should continue to work on their adapting their data price collection process. In this point, I would like to mention that maybe the process of data collection in your offices are based on the face-to-face modality. And under the current circumstance, it's very important to move to another option. And the question is, what is going to happen after this health emergency? Because maybe this is a very good opportunity for the statistical office to move for some specific cases where it is possible to improve the data collection. And actually, even you can have better information and more consistent information if you move to another modality in cases where the products is feasible to do it. Another point that we identified that is very important in the office is to build capacities in the teams quickly, to implement collection modalities using digital technologies instead of traditional methods based on the face-to-face interview. In this regard, for instance, if you are working at home and you don't have access to your equipment from the office and you are waiting to be in the office to continue the compilation of the CPI, you have here a very difficult problem. And in the side, the data collection is the same situation. Maybe it's a moment to to see this opportunity to move very quickly and to help to the data collectors to make interviews by telephone, to make short interviews with the informants, to have exchange by email, or try to make searches by website, by the internet, to get the information that in another moment, for normal situation, you never think to move the face-to-face collection. So it is very important that the statistical offices realize that this is a moment to act very quickly to improve the abilities for the people that is working in the CPI collection and even in the compilation process. Regarding the continuity of the survey process, one key factor in selecting new modalities is the time it will take to implement them. In case of the need to train staff in using new methodologies, technologies, and skills to obtain the widest and best coverage possible. It is related with my previous point, because if we need to help the people to get another abilities, maybe we need time, and we need to be very quickly. So otherwise, if we don't act very quickly, we will stop the process to compile the CPI, and it will affect, of course, the continuity of the workflow in your offices. So it is very important to identify the best option for you and to act as far as you can do it. And finally, the additional information collected will have to be incorporated into the price databases in a differentiated manner so that it can be excluded if it is so decided once the current health emergency has passed and the institution returned to face-to-face collection. This point is related to the way you have the process, the work process in your offices. If you have a system where you can identify the price quotation that are collected face-to-face normally, you need to identify those ones that can be incorporated by other new modalities during this period. Because in other moment of the process, maybe 1 year or a semester after, you need to remove it from the system to verify what happened and to make analysis, comparable analysis, intra or interannual. So it is very important that you can control the new price quotation that you are incorporating, and of course, the imputation you are incorporating into the system. In light of the current situation, institutions may introduce some flexibility into the price collection process and their imputation methods. Ideally, these options should be exhausted instead of expanding the sample to include new sources. If outlets are closed, they should not be replaced. It is very important to maintain the survey of outlets that you normally use. It is not allowed to change the outlets or to substitute the information with another data source. It is very important in terms of the consistency of the CPI. So in this regard, if you want to add something, to share something with the group.
Hi, this is Catherine from Statistics Canada.
Yes.
One thing that maybe you will discuss further, so I might be ahead. I apologize for that. But whichever method is used, it's recommended that to be very transparent. So if some product or a class used to be collected one way and the methodology changed, then to be transparent with the user and explain all the changes that happened due to COVID.
Sorry, Catherine, you mean about the transparency that the offices need to have when they release the new indicator with this solution incorporated?
Yes. so there's some countries that will put a flag on the series that are imputed because of the lack of prices. Other will just write a note explaining the changes and the difference, so that the user are aware of the new estimates and how they have been impacted.
Of course, yes, we will introduce it as a recommendation, and I will share with you a screen from the same document when you can see that the new modality of the importance to explain, can you see it? This is an example that we incorporate into this technical note when we are explaining that it's very important for the statistical office to explain to the users what are they facing, the problems they are facing to compile the CPI. For instance, this is an example from Ecuador, and they are explaining here what is happening with the CPI and what they do, and what they did, and all the details that the user may need. And in this case, this is the same recommendation. Nowadays, there are countries that actually are releasing the new CPI with these problems solved anyway. So the statistical office are producing a specific, if they not produce a note, they are incorporating a note. And if they are producing a note, they are incorporating a specific paragraph or information when they release. Actually, we recommend to release what is the level of imputation that you are making to compile the CPI. If you usually make an imputation of in the rate of response rate 3 to 7%, and now you are increasing this response rate by imputation, you need to inform this to the users in order that they know that this CPI in particular, this indicator in particular for this period, will have some consideration than the previous indicator didn't have inside. So this is your idea, Catherine?
Yes, this is exactly what I was trying to say.
Okay, thank you, Catherine. Thank you very much. Another comment from you? From the group?
I would like to.
Yes.
I would like to add something there.
Marcelo.
Yeah, just as a main question, because I agree that we have reviewed different recommendations in these lines. But for example, nowadays, many of the European CPIs are published, at least the maybe not final results. But for example, for France nowadays, you can check in the website that the imputation rate is 44%. And we think it's something.
You see the case of France, and it's, sorry, Marcelo, you see the case of France, and you say that is 44% of imputation.
Yeah, I mean, they have published the statistic bulletin, and there they write this and they present these figures. But I just have, we're gonna do it here in Chile, but I'm just asking because I just have saw this case, and for example, for Spain, Italy, Germany, and a lot of other OECD countries, they are making notes, technical notes, where they explain that, well, they have the need to change some recollection methods, but they do not present, for example, figures for imputation rates. So I just wanted to ask that it's because I don't know, they don't usually do that, or because they just I don't know, are not following this specific recommendation about imputation rates. Thanks.
So your question is about which country, sorry?
No, I'm just asking as a general position for saying some way
Okay.
about Eurostat or CEPAL or IMF about if it's for what I have a review and I can intuit from
Okay.
now this
Okay.
this discussion. It's if it's recommended. So because again, I just saw it in France in this case, and in the other countries you can read methodological notes, but you cannot find these figures.
Okay, Marcelo, actually, this is a custom from the statistical office. Depends on each country. Usually, when you release a CPI or a main indicator in your country, you used to produce a technical note. And in this regard, we are recommending that inside the same technical note, you incorporate eventually the imputation of the response rates covered by imputation. Otherwise, you can decide to do it in another way, but it depends on every country. Actually, the United Nations have a specific compilation guide to produce economic statistics, and in this document, you can verify for any indicator what we recommend to what those a technical note need to have. If you want, I can share you by the other side. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Another comment.
Yeah.
It is very important. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Marcelo. It is very important to inform to the user what are you doing. It's a very complicated moment, and we are convinced that in this moment we need to be flexible and we need to produce more consistent data as far as we can. Otherwise, we will have time after this, because we are sure that this pandemic might finish. We are sure about it, and we need to come back to the workflow to verify the decision we made. And it is very important that you can control the imputation, and you can inform to the user what are you doing in the releasing of the information. So if you have any other comment to share with the group, I would appreciate it. So I will ask directly, does any country have released any indicator of the CPI for March or April? Do you have any answer that you have made? You have prepared to release the CPI? Any country that already have compiled it? Yes.
In the case of Grenada, we were in the process of doing that, because it was a challenge for us working from home with limited access to our system, and the announcement was made at short notice, and so we wasn't really fully prepared to be home working. So we have had challenge. I mean, in terms of, well, I wouldn't say a challenge, but our release time has been affected. So presently we're working on March. We have not been able to compile March as yet, but like I said previously, we were able to collect all prices for March.
Okay. So you don't have any CPI in the Mirage that you will release?
We have
compiling now, Karen.
You referring for March and April, or 2020 in general?
Yes. No, March and April, that are the months that can be affected.
Okay, no, so we have not published March as yet. We're working on it right now. So once we finalize with it, it would be published.
Okay, Karen, thank you. Another case, it would be very helpful for all the group if we can share any experience when you have prepared any technical note, or even if you are thinking the way to do it.
In the case of Chile, for the last month, for March, we have published the note, the bulletin, the statistical bulletin with the notes in there about the COVID effect. But for this month, we're gonna use the same bulletin for describing figures. We're gonna use in that bulletin a note, a journal note, but we also are preparing for tomorrow's publication a technical note explaining these kind of things. What are the main methods we are going to use in line with international recommendations, and we are also share the imputation rate from a few months ago, just for users can realize and take into account the change in effective prices from this month. But yeah, we're going to publish a methodological note tomorrow morning, along with publishing the figures and the common material of every month.
Okay, thank you, Marcelo. Another country from the Caribbean region, it could be very useful, Guyana, and islands. Yes.
For Guyana, I am currently working on March CPI. I'm hoping to have that out by next week, because we're not allowed into the office every day, and our system is set up that it's hard to shift the system back and forth. We try not to shift files back and forth. We're hoping to finish March. Well, I'm going to use the data that I have, and then we have to myself and the head will have to come up with what recommendations is given to do the imputations for the missing items, mainly clothing and footwear, and for the missing food items from the markets, because our market prices are where most price changes occur. We don't really see it as, because I'm currently looking at the data and we're not seeing a lot of changes in the supermarket, although when the whole announcement of a lockdown would have announced, we had a lot of price increase. Then I guess most we would have seen, because we've been locked down from since March, the last week in March. So most of that price change or price increase would have been happening in April, and in April we do not have any data or the amount of data as we have in March. So so I'm going to compile with what I have, the date, and then an appropriate imputation method would be used to complete the total CPI.
Nowadays, you are in the precise moment to decide what would be the level of imputation that you would require?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And in your country, you usually release the information with a technical note?
Well, when I was told about, when the situation was highlighted, that was one of the first things the head told me, that she told me that, so this is going to not to be a custom that how we do the CPI, so we need to document it. So for further, let's hope that this does not happen again. For the reference, so that others can be exposed or have appreciation to what was done. So yes, that is definitely a part that we would go down to document what imputation method we used, how much data was collected, and
Okay, thank you, very useful. Thank you. Another comment from you? Other country? Jerry?
We do our.
Sorry?
Hi, this is Karim.
May you close your micros, please? It's just that there is sound. You close your microphones, all of you, please. Okay.
So for Angular, this again, for Angular, we usually do our CPI quarterly, and luckily we were able to get out in the field and collect all the data for the CPI for our first quarter, and we already have it released from since what about a month ago. So we have that, and we are preparing to go out in the field next month in order to collect for the second quarter.
Okay, but in your case, you release the CPIs with a technical note? now? Or you only release the indicator? You use technical note, you produce technical note to explain the indicator?
Yes, we do, but we are going to add the level of imputation in also within it.
Okay, okay. Okay, thank you. Another country?
In the case of the Cayman Islands, we prepared the report for the first quarter, January to March. The expected date of release for that publication is the 30th of June. I'm not sure if it will be released on time given the situation that we're faced with. But yes, we do produce technical notes in all our reports.
So in the case of your country, you will face problems with the CPI for the next quarter, not for
Yes,
the...
that's when we will probably improve. Well, not probably. I'm going to recommend that we improve on the technical notes by giving more details about our imputations based on what we have done.
Okay. Thank you, Andrelin. Another comment from you is very important for us and for all the group that you share your experiences, because every country is facing this problem in different way, and it's very productive and fruitful to share your experiences. Okay, from the Caribbean region, another country, maybe Jerry, maybe Granada, want to participate with your experience?
As it relates to Antigua, we still have a time lag in our publication, so we would not be able to make a comment as in terms of providing a technical note. When that time comes around, we will do so. I would have indicated that in my last comment.
Okay. Thank you, Jerry.
Okay, Karen, Grenada, in terms of, I would have to discuss that with my head, but we usually put out information as to how we do stuff when we do most of the time when we do a rebasing, we would do a complete publication of our CPI, of our methodology and all of that. With the monthly release, we would just really give an analysis of what is happening. But I think going forward, we would want to incorporate that now that we are faced with this situation. So yes, I think we would be doing that.
And when is your next release, Karen?
Given the challenges that we face, probably within the next 2 weeks. Like I said, we are working on March. We have been home since the 23rd of March until now. I'm hoping to go into office tomorrow for the first time since then. And we're looking at going in next week for a couple of days and doing that going forward. So with us being able to the office, we should be able to put out things a bit faster. The thing is, the same persons who are working on CPI, because we are the same ones who collect the prices, do the data entry and all of that. And we are supposed to have the national accounts data ready for submission to ECCB by next week as well. So we had this to work on. So we have competing workloads despite the challenges. So we hopefully, probably within the next 2 weeks, I don't want to say next week, so I'll say the following week, we should have March ready for release. And we're trying to actually work on April speedily so that we could have them released quickly, because persons are definitely interested in knowing what is happening given the situation. So the request for the is coming quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. So in this particular case, since you have this situation for this next monthly release, you are considering to give another explanation about the results that you can get.
Yes, that would be one of the things we do.
Okay, thank you very much, Karen. Another country? Okay. So this is the last part of my presentation. If you want to add any comment from your side about these challenges you are facing, you are dealing with in the CPI compilation.
Hi, Martha.
Yes.
Martha,
yes.
I just wanted to add my apologies for us not participating in the last meeting. What happened, that was the start of our complete lockdown. And it was a bit, it was not, or things were not as organized as they were. So now that we have organized things better, you know, we are better able to communicate exactly what we are doing.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Andrelin. But it's very important that you are here now. So if you don't have any comment, all the information that we are producing regarding technical notes, are all these documents are located in the website that I mentioned before. And I will share with you my screen to let you see the technical note we have. Give me a moment. Okay, this is the document that we have located in the knowledge transfer network. Into this document, we are going to incorporate an annex with the conclusion from these meetings with the Caribbean region. So you can check this information here. This is some recommendation of the examples that we produce for the imputation procedures. You can check them here in Precise. In addition, we produce a minute from the previous meeting that is located in the same place. So you can check all the documents, or actually you can contact our colleagues that is expert on prices if you need some particular help to deal with this challenge during this period, in order that you can compile the CPI that you are producing now. Okay, if you don't have any other comment, this is all from my side, and I would like to appreciate your cooperation and your participation for this meeting. And I will give the voice to Rolando Ocampo. Okay. Is Rolando here? Claudia?
Sí, yo estoy. Claudio?
Okay, Rolando. We finished.
Okay.
No.
Okay, Claudia, if you want to add something, or from CARICOM, welcome, please.
No, I think we're fine. We just want to thank you again, and we look forward to the next meeting and to the document. Thank you.
No, thank you to you, Claudio, for being here. Okay, Catherine, and from CARICOM, anybody want to add something?
Hi, this is Marissa from Secretariat. No, I don't want to add anything. Indeed, I know these are challenging times, and just want to continue to wish everyone to stay safe.
Okay, thank you, Marisa. Okay, Rolando?
Yes. Well, I want to thank you, all of you, for your participation and in this very interesting meeting webinar. And so what I want to say is that we are planning a meeting in this same framework for the next week in the field of national accounts, a balance of payments and external trade, and we look forward your participation or the experts of your countries. And I really thank your participation and all the experience that we heard in this meeting. And thank you, all of you. And see you. Hope to see you by webinar soon. And many thanks. That's for today. And thank you. Bye bye. Thank you, Stats Canada. Thank you, CARICOM. Thank you, all the colleagues from the countries and all the colleagues from our office too. And nice to see you and hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.